Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha and our sign language interpreter is Josiah Abdullahi. Let's now begin with the headlines. Ahead of the 2027 general elections, political parties signed peace accord. A Bank of Industry loads President Tinubu over 250 billion naira Series 1 bond over subscription. And Iranian's top negotiator says Strait of Hormuz will stay closed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has urged political parties, candidates and other political actors to shun ethnic, religious and other primordial sentiments ahead of the 2027 general election. Represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, at the signing of the 2027 presidential elections peace accord in Abuja. The president said campaigns must be based on ideas, policies and programs that strengthen rather than tear apart Nigeria's social fabric. And he reaffirmed his commitment and that of the All Progressives Congress APC to peaceful, transparent elections, rejecting violence, hate speech, misinformation, incitement and misuse of social media and artificial intelligence. President Tinubu stressed that elections must not be treated as a do-or-die affair, urging all political actors to see themselves as partners in nation building. He commended the National Peace Committee for its sustained efforts.
The Nigerian people, that we as leaders will put the nation's interests above personal or partisan ambitions. I call on all Nigerians, civil society organizations, our foreign partners and the media to join us in deepening and building a stronger, more vibrant, democratic society.
Convinced, and I've had people say to me, are we really doing anything? Do people just sign a accord and go home? Because violence is directly related to the unresolved issues among political competitors. I make this point because a lot of poor people continue to die for issues that politicians have not been able to resolve. The second point is we are set up to encourage Nigerians.
The president also cited improvements in Nigeria's electoral process, including the use of the PVC and BVAS, and recent off-season governorship elections in Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun states as indications of growing electoral credibility. The federal government has restated its commitment to ensuring access to clean, safe, and sustainable water and sanitation services for all Nigerians. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Wotsev, stated this while addressing the global community at the ongoing Africa Water Sanitation System Leadership Symposium in Kigali, Rwanda. Professor Wotsev said the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has transformed the water and sanitation sector from fragmented institutions to a more coordinated national system by bringing stakeholders together through various programs, projects and reforms. He disclosed that the ministry has commenced the development of a national water compact focusing on water for people, water for food, and water for the planet, in collaboration with the states and local governments.
Fragmented institutions to a more coordinated body whereby different collaborators, institutions, sponsors, development partners are being harnessed and they come together.
Symposium opened, the Prime Minister of Rwanda, Justin Nsengiyumva, urged African leaders and development partners to make sincere commitment and take practical action towards achieving the continent's vision of sustainable water and sanitation services by 2063. The symposium, with theme Accelerating Water and Sanitation Transformation for Sustainable Impact, is hosted by the government of Rwanda, co-convened by the African Ministers' Council on Water. And elsewhere, the federal government has announced a major breakthrough in Nigeria's maritime sector following the decision by the United States Coast Guards to lift the condition of entry imposed on vessels arriving in the United States from Nigeria. Chukwunason Wabese reports that the development brings to an end a 12-year regime of enhanced security requirements on vessels calling at Nigerian ports before entering the United States.
The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyego Yetola, who announced the lifting of the entry condition, emphasized that the development marks a strong affirmation of the progress made by Nigeria in strengthening its maritime security architecture and implementing the International Ship and Port Facility Security (ISPS) code across the country's ports and maritime facilities. He attributed the achievement to the sustained efforts by the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy through the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency (NIMASA) in collaboration with relevant government agencies, ports, terminal and facility operators, shipping companies and other stakeholders. The minister, in a statement by NIMASA's head public relations, Osage Edward, stressed that the coordinated efforts were aimed at strengthening Nigeria's maritime security framework, addressing identified gaps, and demonstrating sustained compliance with internationally accepted maritime security standards. The minister, while commending the Director General of NIMASA, Dayo Moberiola, and his team for their contribution to the achievement, reaffirmed commitment to sustaining the momentum and ensuring that Nigeria remains a safe, secure, and competitive destination for international shipping. The condition of entry, which took effect on June 25, 2014, required vessels destined for the United States that had called at designated Nigerian ports within their previous 5 port calls to undergo additional security measures and enhanced scrutiny before gaining access to U.S. waters. However, between March 2024 and April 2026, the United States Coast Guard conducted 4 comprehensive assessments of Nigeria's National Maritime Security Framework and port facilities before lifting the 12-year restriction. The lifting of the COE is expected to facilitate faster vessel turnaround and improve schedule reliability while reducing costs associated with additional documentation, inspections, security measures, and entry-related delays, as well as make Nigerian ports more attractive to international shipping lines, encourage increased shipping activity, and contribute to greater trade, investment, employment opportunities, and port revenues. Chukwunason Wabese, NTA News.
And in Zambia, supporters of President Hakainde Hichilema celebrated in the streets of the capital, Lusaka, as he wins the last week re-election with 60% of votes cast as announced by the Electoral Commission. Comfort Fashion tells us more.
I therefore declare Hichilema Hakainde S. to be President-elect.
Supporters of the incumbents are celebrating today as the Electoral Commission declared the winner of the last week's general election, securing approximately 60% of the votes. The Electoral Commission announced the results on Tuesday, concluding a contest critics claim was tightly controlled by the administration. The outcome was widely anticipated, and since taking office in 2021, Hichilema faced a crowded field of 13 challengers. His main opponent, former provincial minister Brian Mundabele, secured nearly 38% of the votes, while 5 of Zambia's 226 constituencies remain untallied. Election officials confirmed the outstanding ballots are not expected to change the final result. However, the victory has been shadowed by controversy. Mundabele has alleged counting irregularities, claiming without providing evidence that results documents were tampered with. These accusations came on the heels of a chaotic election week. The August 13 polls saw an unprecedented nationwide suspension of tallying following attacks on election staff and the thefts of marked ballot papers. International and domestic observers stated that these disruptions created an uneven playing field. Zambia, Africa's second largest copper producer, has a long record of peaceful transfers of power through the ballot box, with every change of president since the return to multi-party politics in 1991 achieved through elections. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
Iran's top negotiator has delivered a stark ultimatum from Tehran. The strategic Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the United States satisfies Iran's core demands. Mohammed Ghalibaf confirmed the waterway's continued closure and is contingent upon the lifting of what Iran calls a naval blockade of its southern ports, alongside additional concession from Washington. Comfort Fashion again reports.
The strategic Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed as diplomatic efforts hit a major roadblock. Iran's top negotiator, Mohammed Ghalibaf, confirmed on Tuesday that the waterway will stay shut until the U.S. fulfills commitments from their June Memorandum of Understanding, specifically lifting naval blockades, removing oil sanctions, and unfreezing Iranian assets. The announcement comes as the deadline for the permanent peace deal expired, deepening the stalemate. The situation has grown increasingly volatile. A vessel was reportedly struck by an unknown projectile in the strait, resulting in engine damage and at least one casualty. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to Oman, threatening military action if the nation interferes with U.S. efforts to resolve the maritime crisis.
No, I don't think they behave very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do other things.
With regards to the incident surrounding
Amidst these soaring tensions, a potential path towards diplomacy has emerged. Qatar has officially intervened, issuing a strong statement that a maritime resolution is not just a logistical necessity, but a crucial missing piece required to revive wider stalled U.S.-Iran peace talks. Doha argues that reaching a breakthrough on the Strait of Hormuz could foster the fundamental trust needed to transition the region from confrontation back to formal negotiations. The pressure is mounting from all sides, while U.S. officials maintain a stern tone with threats of intervention. Turkey and Qatar continue to lead a desperate push for de-escalation. All eyes now turn to Wednesday's scheduled parliamentary talks in Tehran as the international community hopes that the promise of revived dialogue might finally compel both Washington and Tehran to soften their entrenched positions. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
A Syrian court has handed a death sentence to Wassim al-Assad, who appeared in the dock, a cousin of longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad, who was himself sentenced to death in absentia last week. The 46-year-old relative of Assad was convicted over atrocities committed under the autocrat's rule during the country's nearly 14-year civil war. Judge Fakhr al-Din al-Yaran said Assad's cousin was convicted of multiple murders and murder accompanied by torture and brutality, classified as crimes against humanity and war crimes, adding that he is therefore sentenced to death. Syria in April began proceedings against Bashar al-Assad and other officials accused of atrocities during the country's civil war, which erupted with the brutal repression of pro-democracy protesters by the formal authorities. More than 500,000 people were subsequently killed and millions displaced, while tens of thousands disappeared. Thank you for staying with us. The Bank of Industry has praised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his leadership and support after its 250 billion naira Series 1 fixed rate bond was oversubscribed within 5 years. The bank issued the bond through its Bank of Industry Financing SBV PLC under the bank's $1 billion multi-currency instruments program. Bank of Industry Chief Executive Officer Olasupo Olusi said the bond's oversubscription indicates investors' confidence in the bank and Nigeria. The strength of the investor response is a vote of confidence not only in Bank of Industry but also in the capacity of Nigeria's domestic capital market to mobilize long-term capital for productive investment, he said. Bank of Industry noted that the transaction demonstrates the growing capacity of Nigeria's domestic capital market to channel long-term institutional savings into productive sectors of the economy. The national campaign against child malnutrition has been extended to the Southwest Geopolitical Zone with the flag of the National Community Food Bank Program by Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu in Shagamu, Ogun State. The flag-off ceremony in Makun, Shagamu was the highlights of her second official visit to Osun State, where she called on other political and critical stakeholders from across the zone to support ongoing efforts to secure the future of the country by giving vulnerable children a healthy start in life. During the visit, the First Lady also inaugurated the 108-unit President Muhammadu Buhari estate at Kobakpe along Abuja-Shagamu Expressway, as well as Gateway Medical Center of Excellence projects undertaken by the state government. Media organizations are playing a critical role in the fight against insecurity in Nigeria through public engagement and enlightenment in order to promote national dialogue for sustainable peace and development. The 8th edition of Blueprint newspaper annual public lecture impact series and awards assembled Nigerians who shared perspective on the theme, security challenges and integrity of Nigeria 2027 election. Sali Abdullahi Kwanara reports.
Nigeria's general election may be 5 months away, but concerns are already meeting the desired attention towards a peaceful poll. On the invitation of one of Nigeria's national dailies, Blueprint newspapers, Nigeria from all walks of life converged on Abuja to demonstrate that the fight against insecurity in Nigeria is not limited to the military, police, and other security agencies.
The integrity of our elections will depend not only on the actions of electoral officials and security agencies, but also on the ability of the media to inform rather than inflame, to educate rather than manipulate.
No matter how many of us come up as president of Nigeria, or governors in our various states, or senators and members of the House of Representatives, we can never make Nigeria a better place unless we have decided to change within ourselves to make Nigeria a better place.
Hands must be on deck. It's not the problem only for the president of Nigeria, name them all the security you can mention. It's not only their problem, it's our own problem. And this country is our own. We should not politicize it.
The reason why this theme is very important now, in addition to what Abdulaziz mentioned earlier on, is because elections are just around the corner.
The lecture is also expected to examine intractable security threats, including kidnapping, banditry, violent extremism, cyber threats.
There was a consensus here that beyond reporting attacks and criminal activities, media organizations have a duty to use their platforms to promote peace.
With the faith that we have in this country, we can build a better Nigeria.
So these conversations are important because we can't afford to keep acting, behaving as a people that have lost our bearing.
We all have a role to play to alert those whose job is primarily to protect all of us.
I am here in my capacity as the Minister of Information and National Orientation. Of course, I was the foundation chairman of Blueprint newspapers 15 years ago.
There were presentations of awards to some distinguished Nigerians for their outstanding performances in both public and private sectors. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration is stepping up efforts to tackle flooding in the nation's capital, with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike ordering the immediate demolition of structures obstructing designated water channels in Maritime and other flood-prone areas. The directive follows the recent flooding that submerged parts of Maritime, bringing renewed attention to the impact of illegal structures and blocked drainage channels. Noze Yakubu reports.
I mean, if this is the channel, you are telling me that the entire building at the back has to go.
After inspecting the flood-affected areas in Maitama district, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike orders the immediate commencement of demolition of illegal structures obstructing designated waterways. The minister says the exercise will be carried out without favor or exception, irrespective of the status of property owners or ongoing political activities.
Unfortunately, we have gone there and we have seen how people have blocked channels where in the master plan that is the right way where water is supposed to be channeled. People by their positions have blocked it, believing that nothing will happen. I have told people this in life, that nothing happened yesterday does not mean that something will not happen today. That it did not happen today does not mean it will not happen tomorrow. Now you have done your own by blocking the water channel and nothing has happened. Thank God the flood has come. You have done our attention to the place. Now something will happen. I'm going to bring those houses down.
The recent flooding in Maitama reportedly affected several properties, including residences of high-profile Nigerians, underscoring the widespread consequences of blocked waterways and inadequate drainage. The latest directive signals a renewed push by the FCT administration to reclaim drainage corridors, restore the free flow of water, and strengthen the city's resilience against flooding. Noze Yakubu, NTA News.
An APC support group on the platform of Like Minds Volunteers for Tinubu says the new phase of reforms embarked upon by President Bola Tinubu has a clear prospect of strengthening the economy for a better and more prosperous Nigeria. This was during the official launch of an app named 1 of 10 for Tinubu, ahead of massive mobilization for the party's victory come 2027. Political correspondent Obakara Kwanga reports.
It was supposed to be a takeoff of a new hub to drive, coordinate, authenticate and verify genuine supporters for the president's re-election under the Like Minds Volunteers for Tinubu. But realities of the impact of the economic reforms triggered high-level conversations by these professionals.
The administration must continue to deepen its reforms, improve regulatory efficiency, expand gas infrastructure, strengthen local manufacturing, and improve access to capital.
Every registered volunteer is encouraged to mobilize 10 committed voters, and with this, we envisage mobilizing a minimum of 2.5 million votes nationwide.
And the initiator is proposing a digital networking to explain these achievements across the length and breadth of the country and make Nigerians see how the nation's future now is in the global energy landscape, national security, healthcare services, infrastructure, and education.
For that power to have its full impact, voters must be informed, organized, engaged, encouraged to participate actively in electoral processes.
In the fact that the president has done a tremendous work, but we need to communicate the importance and the impact of that work to the grassroots.
Nationwide coordinators and stakeholders are pledging commitment for the success of the president through 1 of 10 for Tinubu movement and urged Nigerians to see the renewed hope agenda as an idea whose time has come. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
And as Nigerian youths join the world in marking International Youth Day, stakeholders have challenged them to turn ambition into action and become active architects of Nigeria's national future. Adobe Obeshino has the details.
Nigeria's future will not be shaped by promises alone. It will be determined by a generation willing to rise above apathy, embrace responsibility, and turn its energy, ideas, and courage into action. To this end, the event is another opportunity for young Nigerians to find their voices, engage constructively with governments, demand accountability, and participate in the democratic process. They must also reject violence, intolerance, and politics of division.
It is a reminder that every Nigerian is a builder, that our destiny is not written in despair, but in determination. This is our collective voice.
The Nigerian youth population is a powerful force. They are the innovators, entrepreneurs, professionals, creative, and leaders whose choices today will determine the kind of country that emerges tomorrow. But potential without action is like a seed left buried in the ground. It may contain the promise of a forest, yet remains unrealized. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
That is it on the news. Many thanks for watching. I am Charles Alpha. Josiah Abdullahi has been our sign language interpreter. Thanks for watching.